Hi everyone, I am Rashika from Biopharma Chem Skillnet, as many of you would already know by my face till now. So, welcome to our Lunch and Learn webinar session. And we have an interesting topic today that is demystifying the grant funding and R&D tax credit landscape for biopharma and chemical businesses. And we are joined today by Dara and Sarah from Leighton. And I will be introducing them in a while. Dara, can you please change the slide?
Sure.
As you will know, we are Biopharma Chem Skillnet, and we are a government-funded organization, and we work with the biopharma chem companies in delivering and designing subsidized training solutions to them. If you want to follow us on LinkedIn, please scan the QR code where we post information on sessions like these and our trainings. I'll just give you 1 second for doing that. Okay, Derek, can you change the slide, please? Thanks. So, our upcoming webinars and courses, as you can see on the screen, the next webinar would be on Introduction to Power BI, which is also a very interesting topic for me personally. And then there would be Honest Conversation Framework on 7th of July. Courses coming up basically in September would be Neurodiversity in the Workplace. That is our award winning course. Then it is Introduction to Biopharmaceuticals and Advanced Personalized Therapies. Then there is level 5 essentials for pharmaceutical manufacturing and knowledge management and inclusive leadership following. Um, there's all the information on our website if you want and are interested in any of these courses or our lunch and learn webinars. Thank you, and I will now give it to Dara. Thank you.
Uh, Thanks very much, Rashika, and good afternoon, everybody. I'm delighted to have you all in this afternoon. I'm going to move at a decent pace today, and after I do a quick introduction to myself, walk through a number of the different grant funding mechanisms, or not a number of them. There's a myriad of them in Ireland, and then also just talk about how they actually dovetail and segue into the Irish R&D ecosystem and how you can actually stack them as well. But so the agenda today, I'm going to talk a small bit about research. I don't want to teach anybody to suck eggs here, but just it's no harm to do a quick scene set and talk about what is research and what is not research. Talk a small bit about the funding supports and some of the most commonly used funding supports that I would have used myself when I was previously an R&D director, and also that I've seen people in my network and in since those times using themselves. And then also leave you with the three questions that you need to ask yourself every time a potential grant funding mechanism is put in front of you to look at. So I'm going to flip things on. I'm going to flip things on their head a bit, and I'm actually going to start the presentation with the conclusion today. So the conclusion is that now is the time, if you are not already, to use grant funding options to grow and accelerate your business. Okay, and you can do that through two potential mechanisms. One is the R&D tax credit scheme, and the other is grant funding mechanisms, either at a national level or at a European level. And you can use them absolutely to rejuvenate your business model. And one of the most common ones I've seen around is that companies, no matter what sector they're in, start to build and layer in something like, for example, an AI center of excellence within their business. There is significant support available. There, as I mentioned, there is an absolute myriad of grant funding mechanisms out there. And if any of you have used the National Enterprise Hub, NEH.ie, you will see that as well. However, navigating those supports can be quite complex, and choosing the right funding mechanism for the right project and at the right time is where the sweet spot actually lands. Okay, so talk a small bit about Leighton first and foremost. So Leighton has been around since 1997, and basically 3,000 employees across 20 different countries all across the globe. And basically we specialize in innovation incentives. on a global level. We are probably the largest consultancy firm in this space that you've maybe never heard of, to be honest. Leighton were active in Ireland up until 2012 when the business was acquired by Deloitte, and then after a 10-year non-compete, Leighton re-entered the market approximately 3.5 years ago. And then about 14, 15 months ago, I came into the business to head up Leighton's Irish business. And the office here in Dublin and across the island is just going from strength to strength. Small bit about my own background, just to give you a bit of context and let you know where I'm coming from. So my background is I have a degree in chemistry, I have a PhD in biotech and materials. I spent a number of years, a bit of a sidebar, but I did a number of years in within an R&D function within analog devices, looking at new next level system on chip with biological sensing materials, and then after that became the R&D director of a biotech company called Monaghan Biosciences, which was part of the Monaghan Mushroom Group. And while I was there in particular, I learned how to leverage absolutely every mechanism and had control of absolutely delivering commercially focused R&D to our customers, primarily actually in the US and Southeast Asia as it happened, leveraging and maximizing the R&D tax credit scheme and also dovetailing those with grant funding support and also some of the collaborative mechanisms that are out there with what was Science Foundation Ireland and now is Research Ireland to maximize and accelerate your R&D pathway within your business. But I'll talk a small bit more about that as the presentation go on. And just to say, actually, please, this is set up as meeting in a meeting format. If there is any questions along the way, anything you want to query, anything you want to question, please just drop it into the chat. If I see it while we're presenting, I'll absolutely address it in real time. Or if you'd prefer to ask me a question in real time and let me know that I'm not just talking into the ether, please digitally raise your hand and absolutely take yourself off mute and ask the question. I'd be absolutely delighted that this session is as interactive as possible. But as you can see, Rashika is recording the session as well, and I'm happy to share these slides afterwards as well. Right, let's kick in. So, look, it sounds a little bit obvious, but I always like to start with what is research and development from a definition point of view. And if you look at it, it is this continuous process of creating the solutions, which is the R&D part, capturing those results, which is intellectual property, and then commercializing those results as products and services in different areas of your business. And that can be internal as well as external. And the five general areas that you need to tick there in terms of from a definition and a qualification point of view is that it needs to be novel, it needs to be creative, there needs to be uncertainty, you need to have approached it in a systematic approach, and it also needs to be transferable. One way or another. And this definition aligns very strongly with something called the Frascati definition of research and development, on which revenues or in the tax credit scheme is built, but I'll come back to that later. I think it's also as important to say what is not research and development, okay? And what is not research and development is what we'd call routine modifications of products and processes. So those bits that are just what I'd nearly call linear, okay? Or they're iterative modifications and they're just part of your regular day to day, okay? It's a routine thing. There's no thinking about it. It's just a small modification that you have to make. And also aspects that are very close to market launch. Again, I'll come back to this later, but if any of you are familiar with the technology readiness level scale or the TRL scale, what I'd say is that anything that you could say is TRL 8 or above, it's a scale that goes from 1 to 9. Anything that is TRL 8 or above is not research and development. Okay? But we can chat about that later if needs be. So let's dig into some of the different bits and pieces that are available. And what you can see here is that there is an absolute myriad of supports. As I said, it is extremely well funded, and I'm not gonna do a line walk through any of these, but just you can take a look at these afterwards. But in effect, the supports in Ireland and at a national and at a European level, excuse me, are split into what I'd call in-house supports, access to capability, or skills development. And they're the three areas where a lot of those supports are aligned. You can see if you look at, in particular, on the right-hand side where it says business innovation and tax incentives, those are the ones, as well as the one on top, the RD&I grants. Those are the three pillars that are designed to deliver cash into your business. You already have the capability in-house within your business to deliver a research and development program within your business. The resources are there, the skill sets are there, the equipment is there, the labs are there, or whatever you need is already in situ. What you actually need is you need direct cash injection to subsidize that risk that you're going to take. Then if you move to the left-hand side and go to the bottom left first, you've then got collaborative supports. So where you need to collaborate with people external to your business. It's a capability or it's an equipment set or it's a skill set that you do not have within your business and that in reality you will not, it does not make sense for you to invest in long term within your business. So you collaborate with somebody. Maybe you're a pure pharma company or you're a pure biochem company and you need to develop an AI capability within your business. For the moment, it does not make sense for you to bring in a dedicated team of 4 software developers to build your own large language model. So can you collaborate externally with a partner to actually develop that for you and on your behalf, one way or another? And then the one on the left then is the accessing RD&I skills. So maybe you need to upskill people within your own organization and bring them to the next generation. Or maybe actually you need to bring skills into your business on a short-term basis. Maybe you want to get a postdoc, or maybe you want to get a senior researcher into your business that is heavily subsidized on maybe a 12 or a 24-month timeline to deliver a discrete packet or project of R&D within your business. So let's dig into the different phases of support then that you generally want to look at. So whether you are a client of Enterprise Ireland or IDA Ireland, and just for completeness sake, in case anybody is on the call that is a local enterprise office client, this is generally how they like to see you stack up towards getting support into research and development within your business. What I'm talking about here is building up to this in-house R&D capability. So the first part generally is to access a consultancy voucher. I'll talk about that in a second. And that's to actually kind of just do a scene set of where the business is at. The next step then is your feasibility grant. That's generally between 40 to 50,000 euros at a 50% grant funding rate to then actually explore, well, can this actually be done in my business? And then if you demonstrate success out the back of the feasibility, then you can go for a larger in-house research and development grant from either Enterprise Ireland or IDA Ireland. From a consultancy point of view, these are generally the 5 areas that you can access support. So across sustainability, across lean, across digital, and also across developing an IP strategy within your business. There is a relatively new one called cybersecurity review as well, which may be relevant for many of your businesses. So 1 or 2 of those are slightly outside maybe of what your R&D strategy might look like, but sustainability may absolutely be driving your next generation of R&D as digital transformation as well as your IP strategy. So these can all feed in one way or another. And you can see that these range anywhere from 2,500 euros for the likes of lean. So that's, you never see that cash, by the way. That goes straight to a consultant who basically benchmarks your business and gives you a recommended path forward, all the way up to the 9,000 euros, which is in the likes of the digital or the cybersecurity review space in terms of that. So taking a look then at the next level that you might want to look at is innovation vouchers. And these innovation vouchers are then can often be the next step for you to start to demonstrate pre-feasibility of a challenge that you may have. Again, it is cash that you never necessarily see within your business, but you get the benefit of it. And it is 10,000 euros worth of time with a 3rd level researcher that you can see. I think there is nearly 27 different technology or research industry-focused academic research gateways within Ireland, either funded by IDA Ireland, Enterprise Ireland, or Research Ireland. So there is absolutely at least one, if not two, research gateways out there for your business, no matter what sector you're in. And actually, you can see that you can also get co-funded vouchers, which go up to a cost of €20,000, but then you obviously need to put €10,000 cash towards those project costs as well. And you can see a maximum of four vouchers accessed sequentially. So one voucher must complete before you access the next voucher that you can do. So three of those can be €30,000, and then the last one up to another €5,000 or €10,000 if you want to deliver the 50% funding mechanism. And you can see you can only have one voucher at a time. And just to give you some of the overview of the graphic, there is just the Enterprise Ireland funded technology gateways. You can find them all on the web and online, but you can see these are all industry aligned research gateways that are out there. You have the solid state pharmaceutical cluster. You've got NIBERT, which is obviously a heavy training facility, and then the PMBRC based down in Waterford as well, in terms of looking at pharma and molecular biotech research as well. So very well funded and very well resourced across the island, one way or another. The next thing I want to talk about is innovation partnerships. And again, this is something that is open to predominantly Enterprise Ireland and IDA Ireland clients. Again, if there's anyone on the call that happens to be a Leo client, might need a bit more nuance in terms of how you actually might access these, but technically should still be available to you one way or another. Look, I'm not going to do a line walk in terms of what they're used there for, but these innovation partnerships are a great way for you to access a senior research person into your business for a 12 or a 24-month period, funded to the tune of 80%. So you can see there, if you get a postdoc, and it will effectively be a postdoc researcher across 2 years, you can get an award of €200,000 subsidized to the tune of 80%. And that 20% balance is a combination of cash and in-kind contribution from you, the company, to top that up. And again, I'll come back to this later, but that 20% contribution can actually also qualify for your R&D tax credit support or relief, but we'll come back to that in a second. So you can see it's a fantastic way to get that relatively short-term skill set into your business to work on a discrete piece of R&D within your business. And it needs to be aligned with the strategic growth of the business and where it's going in the next 3 to 5 years. The next one then is absolutely this part of funding research within your business. You have an R&D team already, you already have personnel, you have a project ready to go, and you go straight into Enterprise Ireland or IDA Ireland looking for an RD&I grant to be able to deliver this. You can see the eligible costs that are allowed within both organizations. So if anyone's on the call from an IDA Ireland point of view, in reality, you'll probably get between 15 and 20% of a grant rate for a project such as this. But if you're an Indigenous SME, you can see the rates there range from 25% to 45% in terms of what Enterprise Ireland will fund as well. Other bits and pieces then that you can potentially access, and I kind of just from a completeness sake point of view, I kind of just wanted to call these out as well. But there is now new different bits and pieces across capital funding support. Process innovation and operational excellence is starting to come into the conversation as well. Digital transformation, again, IDA Ireland have recently just got European Union approval that digital transformation projects can come under RD&I funding, which is absolutely massive because it now puts it outside of the state aid bracket. And then there's also training grants for staff as well. But you can see whether it's Enterprise Ireland or IDA Ireland, you need to liaise with your client advisor or your business executive within the state organisation to actually put this wider package together rather than going to them piecemeal with a small funding application and another funding application in 6 months' time and another one 12 months down the road. They want to see you coming with a strategic growth plan and then the request for funding aligned with that 1, 3, 5 year growth strategy, one way or another. Again, if we now talk about moving outside your own four walls of your business and looking at what I would call is a Horizon 3 project, so something that is 5 years out in reality, and is at a national level, you have to look at Disruptive Technologies Innovation Fund. There's probably only two cycles of DTIF funding remaining. It was a 500 million fund that was launched about 10 years ago at this stage, actually a little less, about 8 years ago at this stage. And I think approximately 420 of the 500 million has been realized or has been awarded at this stage. So hence why I'm saying it needs to be, there's probably going to be only two more funding calls coming out in terms of that. Um, these ones, if you want to look at making an application for a DTIF, you need to be starting the conversations now. Apologies. In terms of looking at that, you need to be an existing client of IDA Ireland or Enterprise Ireland. If you are This is more than likely for Enterprise Ireland clients. You cannot be an undertaking in difficulty, so you're not allowed to apply if you're classed as a UID. And there needs to be a large multinational, there needs to be an indigenous SME, and it is not imperative that you have an academic partner, but it absolutely will strengthen your application if you have a research performing organization or an academic partner or cluster as part of your application. These are projects of scale, okay? And I go back to, I referenced the TRL scale, so technology readiness level scale. These projects need to sit somewhere within TRL 4 to 7. They need to take anywhere from 2 to 4 years to deliver the project. And you need to demonstrate that the output can potentially be commercialized within 2 years of the project being complete. So this is why I say this is what I'd call a Horizon 3 funding mechanism. Okay. It may take you 12 to 18 months from today starting to build your consortium of project partners within a DTIF towards pulling the application together, submitting the application into Enterprise Ireland, who manage this on behalf of the Department of Enterprise, and then before the project actually commences. Okay. And please be aware the admin load of actually drawing down the DTIF fund is, I won't say it's complex, but there's definitely bits and pieces that you need to be aware of as you look to draw the cash down. Ultimately, please know from a cash flow management point of view, you are cash out and then you are retrospectively claiming the money back on your actual expenditure that you demonstrate one way or another. That leaves me into then the R&D tax credit. I'll make a small bit of an assumption that many people on this call, given the very high uptake of the biopharmaceutical and the pharmaceutical sector within Ireland of the R&D tax credit already, that you guys are very well versed with this mechanism already. But just to quickly run through this, as you know yourself, for it's 30 euros credit or cash for every 100 euros that you've spent. And from the 1st of January 26 or accounting periods commencing on or after the 1st of January 26, it has increased to 35%. It must be claimed within 12 months from the end of the accounting period in which the expenditure was incurred. So you can only go back 1 year. And since 2022, it can either be offset against your corporation tax liability or payable as a cash refund. And just because you have a corporation tax liability does not mean you cannot take it as a cash refund either. You can absolutely choose what way you want to. Also, you do not need to be profitable to claim the R&D tax credit, or indeed you can also claim it if you are pre-revenue as well. Once you are liable for corporation tax, you may claim the R&D tax credit once you're doing qualifying activity. Um, Looking again in terms of how the supports stack up, you can see if you are an SME getting 45% grant aid of R&D spend. If you spend 100, you get a grant aid of 45. So your net spend is now 55. Looking at last year's scenario with an R&D tax credit of 30, you get an additional 30% of the net spend as well. So now the double net cost of performing R&D with that spend of 100 is actually only 38.5. So it's fairly significant one way or another in terms of de-risking and subsidizing that R&D spend within your business. If you are a large company, less than $750 million annual turnover, you can see again, you've got an R&D spend of 100. I've taken a grant aid from IDA Ireland here of 20%. Again, your tax credit at 30%, and now the net cost is only 56. And actually, if you look at the reduced impact of the 12.5% corporation tax as well, it actually reduces that 56 down lower again. So again, this makes Ireland massively attractive when it comes to subsidising and incentivising R&D jobs and R&D spend within Ireland one way or another. And in fact, Micheál Martin came out there back in January saying, I don't know what else we can do to encourage more companies to, one, use the scheme, and two, maximize the scheme one way or another. So Ireland's scheme is actually the second most generous in the OECD. I think Portugal's scheme is the only scheme that is more generous than Ireland's scheme within the OECD one way or another. So as I said, the rate will increase for 26. In particular, this will deliver substantial benefit to SMEs from a cash flow management point of view, and also companies outside the remit of Pillar 2 who now that cash injection can directly hit the Irish P&L and start to make the Irish site within a multinational structure look a lot more I suppose just look a lot more attractive when group finance are looking at where that R&D investment may come in the next 3 to 5 years when they look at it from a global point of view. And you can see that that increase was actually designed to maintain the net value of the existing credit while also giving the uplift to SMEs one way or another. And actually from an SME point of view, the first year claimable has increased from 75,000 euros to 87,500 euros. So again, with that nod towards SMEs who are maybe more cash flow conscious, they've increased that again. So this is me starting to come towards the end, and the three key takeaways that I wanted you to walk away from this call with is the three questions that I want you to ask yourself or to ask within your business anytime a grant funding mechanism comes across your desk. The first one is, how business critical is the project? Okay. Because different funding mechanisms have one, different administrative loads to pull them together, two, have completely different decision cycles, and three, have completely different percentage funding rates. I've only touched on, I would say, maybe 20% of the grant funding mechanisms that are available out there. To be honest, we could spend a whole day, and in fact, my previous employers, IRDG, do a 2/3 of a day session in Galway, Limerick, and Dublin every year, where they do a deep dive into the extensive mechanisms. And even with that, they cannot touch on every mechanism that's out there. So, do you need to deliver the project in the next 6 months, in the next 2 years, or in the next 5 years? That is the first question. If it's the next 6 months, I'd recommend go straight to Enterprise Ireland or IDA Ireland. They can more than likely turn around the decision in probably a 4 to 6 week timeline, but you'll get a lower funding rate. However, if it is what I was talking about earlier, a Horizon 3 project, and it's something that's more aspirational, well, then maybe Europe or the Disruptive Technologies Innovation Fund is the one to go for. It will take longer to pull the consortium together. It you will the admin load of that application is higher. However, the grant funding, and it may be 18 months before that project actually gets approved for kickoff. However, the funding percentage you may get, it could be anywhere between 50 and 70%. So it's all about this trade-off between risk versus reward and the grant funding rate. The second thing I'd say to you is what is the technology readiness level of the project, okay? And how close to market is the project that you need? And this is obviously linked with the business criticality of the project that you're looking at as well. But basically, many funding mechanisms will explicitly say in the T's and C's what the technology readiness level range that this funding mechanism is designed for. So align yourself with that one way or another. And the third thing I'd say to you is what do you need to deliver the project? And that's, as I touched on earlier, one of three things. You either need cash to subsidize doing the work within your business. You have the personnel, you have the resources, you have the equipment, you have the capability. You just need to actually do the work within your business. The second part is you need access to capability or equipment that is outside of your business, and it is either too expensive or it does not make sense for you to invest in a long-term basis, and you need access to that to that capability or skill set. And then the third part is skills. And the skills is, do you need access to a skill set that's outside of your business, or do you need to actually upskill the existing staff within your business? And again, you've got all the skill nets. You've got Research Ireland looking at employer-based PhDs and employer-based postdocs, and you've got innovation partnerships as well to bring that work and those skill sets within your business. So that is me starting to wrap up. I am very conscious that I have moved through that at quite a clip and quite a pace, one way or another. This is an area I have lived for the last 20 odd years. So I'm very conscious that I am au fait with the system and the mechanisms and how that works. So please, if any of that was not clear, or you have any questions or any clarifications you'd like me to go back on, I'd be delighted to take any questions, any queries, throw them into the chat, digitally raise your hand, verbally ask them, whatever you want to do, one way or another. But outside of that, happy to take a number of minutes Q&A if people need it. There's always that awkward lull and silence where you never know. Either you've done a great job and everybody's answered all the questions, or you've done a terrible job and everybody's bamboozled and doesn't know what to even ask or where to even start. No, everybody's stuck. Um, is there any way, I don't know whether it's a thumbs up mechanism or whatever the mechanism may be to react, but many people on this call actually use the R&D tax credit scheme already? I would imagine that a large element do. No, I'd say everybody's on lunch doing something else and probably leaving this humming in the background. Possibly. No, thanks very much, Anne-Marie. Okay. Okay. Um, I think in reality, it doesn't look like, thank you very much, Danielle. It doesn't look like there's too many questions or any bits and pieces. So could you go into more detail about how to claim the IP, so the intellectual property? Yeah, I mean, Jorge, the first thing is to get in touch with whoever your client advisor or your business executive is within either the local enterprise office, Enterprise Ireland, or or IDA Ireland, and get that voucher. So if it's Enterprise Ireland or local enterprise office, there's a guy called Joe Doyle. He will absolutely come into your business and help you navigate, and get a really good IP consultant to do that piece within your business. So yeah, first step, whoever your client advisor or business executive is within the state agents, you do. Um, Thanks so much for that, Jim, and great to hear that you use both as well. Hopefully they stack up nicely, and you've had a positive experience of that as well. So. So, and actually, just to talk, I think one of the pieces that often gets left behind is actually how intellectual property actually gets maximized within your business and actually becomes a commercial lever within your business one way or another. So it's not that you have to go down the path of patenting, but that trade secrets and informal or IP are just as relevant forms of intellectual property as, for instance, a patent as well, or a trademark again. So, but yeah, so absolutely. Okay. Look, I don't think there's any more questions. I would imagine you're all busy. You'd love to get 20 minutes back in your day, one way or another. As we said, this session has been recorded. I'll send Rashika a copy of my slides as well, and I'm sure she can distribute to everybody that's on the call as well. And other than that, thank you very much for giving me access to